Hello everyone, how you guys doing? So today I'm going to be giving you guys a awesome tutorial on the fundamentals of design. So I know a couple of people want to learn how to design and they don't know the fundamentals of design. So I made a pretty short tutorial. What I will be teaching you guys would be part of our design 101 course. I will just be sharing a few things that people learn in the course for those that are interested in wanting to know what we learn. So I will be going over the fundamentals of design. Hope you guys love this video. If you do, if you learned anything, please share with your friends. You can also use this video to teach others as well if you wish to. So let's get into the course. All right, so learn the fundamentals of design with Henry, your senpai. So I broke this down into four categories. Visual hierarchy, which is like almost the bulk of everything you would need. Layout, composition, typography, and color theory, right? We wouldn't go over every single one of these two because every single one of these things here because there are a lot of things to go through. But what I will do today in this video is go over visual hierarchy to the best of my abilities. And I hope and I'm very sure that this will help you drastically improve the quality of your designs. So, visual hierarchy is the art of guiding a user through a design in a purposeful and meaningful way. What this means is that visual hierarchy is basically about telling a story with your design, guiding the user's eyes to follow a path that you wish them to follow a path that makes it easy for them to understand what they are viewing. That's what visual hierarchy is about. This is the core of what every designer aims to achieve. We aim to create designs that make it easy for a user to understand it and to consume it and to scan through it. Visual hierarchy is a very big topic, as you would see. So I hope we're able to learn a thing or two about it in this video. So I broke down some tools of visual hierarchy. These tools you're seeing here would be commonly referred to as the fundamentals of design, but in my opinion, they are not the fundamentals of design. They are just tools every designer needs to know how to use to achieve the things they wish to achieve. So for visual hierarchy, these are some of the tools I believe you would most likely use all the time to achieve visual hierarchy and to tell the story that you want to tell. So they are size and scale, color and contrast, white space or negative space, Gestalts principles, or also known as groupings. So let's start with size and scale, right? This is basically straightforward. This is just basically how big or how small an object appears in the frame. As you can see, I try to elaborate that with the title, but this makes it very clear that the scale looks more bold in your eyes. It sticks out more for you to see scale than to see size. And I've already told a very short visual story with this. This just tells you, oh, I want you to pay more attention to scale than the word size and the word and. This was intentional. I wanted you to see this. As a designer, you have to be intentional with what you want the user to do or what you want them to see. You have to be very intentional. So we are going to go through some examples. So as you can see, using the same examples, we have four circles, right? They are equally spaced, but one of them is bigger, and that's the one that sticks out as soon as you look at the frame. You may not pay attention to it, but subconsciously you pay more attention to the bigger circle. Humans have been trained over the years. Humans have been trained over the years due to our nature to spot things that are different, because that has been a survival instinct engraved in us from a very long time. When the early man used to hunt, we trained ourselves to spot like movements, like difference, like change, things that don't fit in, because most of the times things that don't fit in can be a threat to you. So we have been trained, and it's engraved in us to be able to spot out things that are slightly different, right? The human mind would naturally pay more attention to the bigger circle than the other three. So I mean, I hope this is very clear. So we're going to see another example. So as you can see here, I'm using rectangles, and the one on top is larger in scale and in size, and the one below is smaller. So naturally we would pay more attention to the one above than the one below. That thing above could be a text, it could be an image, it could be, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be a shape. I just used a shape because I'm trying to make it very simple and easy for anyone to understand what I'm saying, but it doesn't have to be a shape. It can be a text. If I wanted to use like a very big, bold, big text there and put like some small subtext, that would make you pay more attention to the bold, big text and read the small one next. So I hope this makes sense. Next, we are going to talk about color and contrast, right? This is where a lot of people, have issues, but I promise you it's very easy. Color is very easy in design. You don't have to overwhelm your design with too many colors. Every good design has at most 2 to 3 major colors, right? If you're just starting out, you can start with just one primary color and you use like a background like white. Like as you can see, my designs are mostly white and my brand's blue, and at times I use gray and another thing about color is you don't want too much contrast, which is why using pure black on a pure white background causes too much contrast, and it can be a little bit harsh for your eyes to see, which is why you can see that this and isn't black. It is actually a shade of gray. It makes it easy, it makes it softer for your eyes to look at it than if it were to be pure black. So an example, as we can see, is with the circles. They are all the same sized circles, but one of them is blue, and that's the one that sticks out. The rest of them do not stick out. You can use this for things like your call to action. They have to be very clear because you want a user to click on a button. Call to actions have to be very, very clear. The contrast has to be very clear. So those are one of the major things that you have to really have high contrast with. Call to actions in your design. So things you want the user to do, like the action you want the user to take, has to be very clear, has to have high contrast so the user can easily spot it at a glance. At a glance, you would see the blue circle. So I'm going to show you another example. So this is the same example from the previous one, but as you can see, all I did was change one thing. I changed the color of the bottom rectangle, and now it's already has more dominance in the frame than the bigger one, just because of the color change. And this dominance would even be more drastic if I used a very high contrast color like yellow or red, that will really stick out to your face, and like that will be the one thing you see when you look at the frame. So color can be used in very subtle ways to improve the visual hierarchy of your design. You don't have to use too many colors in your design. You don't have to make your design work overly complex. You know, there are small things like this that you can do to improve the quality of your design. So let's go to the next one. So the next one is one of my favorites, and it's negative space. When people are just learning design, they often shy away from space. As you can see, if you look at this frame, there is so much space around the frame. If you look at my design style overall, you will notice that I pay a lot of attention to negative space, because this is what makes a design look, you know, minimal and clean and modern. Negative space, it's very important for you to observe how much space is around my frame, how much space is around my text, how close is my text to the edge of the border. Is it too close? Is it too far? Should I make more space? Always all the time, the answer is always more space, because the more space you put around your design, the more air, it's easier to breathe. Like the design just feels more like airy, right? It makes it easy for the user to feel less anxious. They feel calm. The design is calm because the eye has enough space to move around, and whatever you want the user to focus on is very clear, and there are no distractions around it. So negative space is very powerful and a very underrated tool. It's a very powerful tool that will make your design go from basic to looking very professional. So I'm going to show you some examples. So as you can see, I'm using the circles as well. As you can see, one of them, you know, is a little bit off on their own, and there's a lot of space around that one. And the remaining three are kind of grouped together. As you can see, you know, the one that's on its own naturally feels more pleasant to look at. It feels more pleasant than the three. Like they are the same size, they're the same color, but the one on its own looks more pleasant. If I took out the remaining three, took out the text, and just put one in the middle of the frame, it would be beautiful to just look at that one gray shape. So white space is very important in improving the quality of your design, and you should definitely pay attention to it. A lot of mistakes people make is, especially when they're adding typography to their design, they make the typography too close to the walls of the design. You don't want that. You want there to be space around your frame. That makes your designs look cleaner and more professional. So I'm going to show you an example of a classic mistake people make, and you know so you can know to avoid it. So this next frame is a classic example of kind of mistakes people make. So we have a gray, you know, rectangle, and we have inner ones that are kind of like more ash or like less or more towards the white hue. But as you can see, they don't look pleasant because there's so little space. There's so little space, like they're too close to the edge of the walls. Then if you look on top of it, the amount of space on the top and the amount of space below them are not even consistent. So this isn't pleasurable to look at. It seems too cramped, right? It's not good on the eyes, right? So these are the things that you have to pay attention to when you're designing. How much space do you put around your design work? Is it so much? Is it too small? Is it enough space? You have to pay attention to all of those. So the last thing I'm going to talk about, but I wouldn't go too deep into details because this has to be its own video, is Gestalts principles. So Gestalts principles are basically psychological principles that, you know, explain why human beings see things the way we do. So there are a lot of them. I promise you, there are a lot of them. but you really need to spend your time to read and understand Gestalt's principles, because it helps you group things in ways that you may not think about, right? It helps you understand how you can use small things to guide the user's attention, because you understand how human psychology works and you understand how the human mind perceives information and how we consume it. So this is a big topic. I can't really go too much into it, but I created an example for you guys so you can also have an idea of what I am talking about. So this is a classic example, right? 4 circles, they're all the same size, but one of them has a background, right? And the other 2 don't. But as you can see, those 2 are already seen as a group just because of that gray background behind them. We have grouped them as one group, and we are seeing the remaining 2 as a separate group. So this is just an example of how Gestalt's principles are being used. You'll be amazed at the amount of times you may have used Gestalt without really paying much attention to it. So these are just some things I wanted to share with you guys. So there's an example that we are going to go through together right now that would help us, use these principles in real life, in a real life design, and see how we can make the design more visually, or how we can improve the visual hierarchy of the design. So let me just exit this and go to the next frame. So in this frame, we have a design that I did just to show you guys an example. So the first thing I will do is I will just go through all the things that are wrong with the design, and together we will try and make the design look have a better visual hierarchy. So the first thing first is this, right? The text are both the same color, the same size, so they have the same scale, meaning there's no visual hierarchy between the 2 texts. They look the same to us, right? The red is a pretty off color, but I'm not going to focus much about color scheme right now in this video, because how to choose color is a cool video on its own. But as we can see, there's like a place, an input field for us to input our email, and the text enter email is barely visible. So the color they chose is not of high contrast if you compare it to the gray background. As you can see, all of these principles work hand in hand. The color of the enter email is too light, and the background it's on is also light, so the contrast is low. Our goal is to make our contrast high. The same thing happens with the call to action here and the red. They're almost the same, so the contrast is too low. So our goal is to increase it. So what are the things that we could do to improve this design? Okay, so let's go through them together. So the first thing I will do is the size and the scale of the font. I'm going to change this font from this size to bold. As you can see, that alone has already improved the visual hierarchy of this work. I just changed one thing. I made the font bolder, but we can definitely do more. So I'm going to centralize this. So we want this to be the main font. We want this to be what the user sees first. Join our email list. So we can also increase the font size a bit. So let's do that right now. So I've increased the font size and I'm going to centralize it again. So let's go to the next font. So we want people to also see this font, but we don't want it to compete with the join our email. So what we could do is we can reduce, the font right now is black and we probably don't want it to be black. So let's just see how it looks, a little bit gray. So as you can see, I made it gray now, and this already looks better. So let's see what happens. Let's reduce the font size a bit. So I'm reducing it a bit, and let's centralize that. So as you can see, this looks way better. So let's go on to fix this next part. So in this part, let's play around with the color. So with this gray, let's make it a little bit more white because we want it to be clear. As you can see, that makes it like really pop out more. Let's centralize this guy, you know, let's make it, then obviously I'm just going to add some rounded corners. So with the enter email, it's still not clear enough, right? We need to make it very clear. So let's just take a darker shade. So as we can see, like that looks way better. In terms of scale, it's a little bit too big, right? If you compare it to the size of the header and the size of the subheader, this size is a little bit too big. So let's reduce it a bit. All right, so it's been reduced, and let's make it, I want to, it could be center set or off to the side. It really depends on you. It's your choice how it looks like. So with the call to action, this red cannot work. So let's see what we can do. We have options. So we can either make it white, a darker red, or we can, you know, play around with like some color. So let's see if we can just use this red. So I don't want it to be too loud. If you can use like black. Okay, so let's just use black. A little bit like black. Should we use black? Okay, I wouldn't use black, but this works, right? So now the design looks better, but there are still some things that are off with the design, and this is what separates the amateurs from the professionals. Whitespace. If you pay close attention to the design, the amount of the white space isn't telling a story. It's all over the place, right? The amount of space between the top and here is the same with this. It's almost the same with this. It doesn't help. The white space isn't helping with the visual hierarchy. So let's fix that, right? So now to fix that, we would have to change a lot of the other elements that we have been working with. So let's see what we can do here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this guy down a bit. So then drop the button down a bit as well. As we can see, this looks way better. We have been able to group things now. So this is where Gestalts comes into play. These two are a group, right? This is one group and this is another group. So it makes it easy for our eyes to kind of scan it. So let's increase the space on top of it because we don't want that to be too close to the edge. So as you can see, we have increased that space there. So this looks really good, right? This guy, I don't have much issues with it. So we're gonna leave this guy here. Then the button, I think the black is too black. Let's just go with like a shade of blue. I think that would work. Like a dark blue-ish kind of shade. So another thing I would do to make the design easy actually is to remove this guy from being red and making it like white. So if I make this guy, okay, it doesn't have to be white, right? It doesn't have to be white. If this guy is black, if this guy is black, if this is black, then we can make these whites, or we can make this white and make this a little bit lighter, and this can be an accent, so this can be anything. So let's just make this like light blue. So as you can see, like I just changed a couple of things, and you can see how much better the design looks overall. there's still a couple of things that I may play with. If I was working on this design like myself, like I will reduce this a little bit, just to increase the amount of space in between this button and this, so it's almost the same as this amount of space. It makes it more pleasant for the eyes to look at it. So as we can see, I think I'll just reduce this font size a little bit more because it looks too big. So let's reduce that a little bit more and put that here. So as we can see, this looks very, very clean. The only other thing I would add, just because like I feel like this design can still look better, is we can use a line to kind of separate these two sections. So we can just use a very faint white line. Let's reduce the stroke to like 2.5. So just a little faint. It doesn't have to show that well. Just a little faint line. Raise it up a little bit. So yeah, as we can see, like, I just put the line, like this is just something I wanted to put just because I felt like, I feel like it will make the design cleaner to look at, but you don't have to put it. Let's bring this down a little bit more. Since I've put that line, since I've put up, you see, another thing to pay attention to, since I put that line, now I'm going to bring the input down a bit so that the amount of space after the line and the amount of space before the button is almost the same. It doesn't have to be the same, but it has to look visually pleasing to the eyes to see. So this is it, right? This is what the design looks like. So I hope you guys were able to learn a thing or two about visual hierarchy. If you did, please like this video and share with your friends. I really appreciate if you subscribe as well, as I plan to teach a whole lot more about design, business, and coding. So thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. I really appreciate that, and have a very awesome day. Thank you.